you get the knowledge to do all this, the mechanics and body?
Just walk around, pick things up, ask people. Yeah, just ask and they'll tell you.
And you do it all the time?
This is... I never miss a meeting here. Come here every meeting. Can't find it. Bloody nut.
Why are you rushing at the moment? Because if you went in the placing, have you got another race this afternoon?
Might have, you never know with this lot. They might put an extra race on.
What are you doing?
Well, it's all bent up and you can't get a spanner on. I'm trying to get these bolts on and get the bonnet up. Well, you won't give me a hand?
Not really, I'll leave it to the expert. Have you got any favourites, cars?
Yeah, these, A60s. It's an old Austin A60 this is. I've got a... Well, I don't know if it's an unpermitted engine in it or what, but it's got an MG engine in it. And I always use them. Because a lot of the boys, an A60, they just use the standard engine, you know, and they don't last very long. They knock the big ends up and seize up. But this old engine, the old MG, they're tough sports car engine. You know, and you just take the engine out of one car, when you wrecked it, put it in another, and away you go again.
614, all in the fence. A monster traffic jam on that top turn. The flashing lights, the Olsden car number 401, and the leader's gone, and just look at them on that turn. Number 7 has got through, Nick Childs. Car number 1 has disappeared, and he's through now. Johnny Rhino.
Colin's back in the race, along with another of his mates, John Leslie Herbert. Johnny Rhino in car number 1.
First lap myself, I just feel my way round. I don't go mad off. I sort of keep up with the pack and watch for me spaces and any incidents happening in front of me. There's definitely a passage. There's 30 other cars out there with you, and depending on where you're positioned, you know how you can use that track. I like to come off on the fence side or square off the corners and make the track into a square really rather than an oval.
Johnny Rhino is out of that trouble in car number 1. And so is Bolton in car number 237. There's a way through. Drivers have abandoned ship. The man out there is car number 161.
After 2 or 3 laps, the field sort of spreads out. And then if you've got a car in front of you who's holding you up, then you can hook onto his back end, put your foot down as hard as you can and turn it to your right, which was spinning towards the fence. And vice versa. If somebody's pushing you, then you've got to brake. And I often swerve my steering wheel zigzagging to try and shake them off.
And there's Rhino in car number 1, making his bid for that second place. He's shut out there beautifully by Liversidge in car number 142. He finds a gap on the inside, almost loses there. He tangles with Liversidge in car number 142. Liversidge holds it well, and he's hanging on to that second place, but Rhino's still in competition down that back straight. And Rhino moves through on the inside of Liversidge and takes that second place. So it's car number 7, Nick Childs first, Johnny Rhino in car number 1 in second place, and Phil Liversidge third.
If you've got a car that's going into the bend before you, a little bit slower than you, then you can keep your power on and lean on him as he goes around the corner, use him as a brake. You know, the cars are actually touching, physically touching. Another thing is locking up the diffs, welding the diffs on the car, which means that you can drive with both back wheels and you can go around that bend as if you're still driving along a straight. The technique for that is to keep the power on all the time. You mustn't ease off the power, otherwise you lose control completely. I learnt the technique of keeping the power on by experience.
Makes his way past the wreckage, past the slower cars, including the spinning Lovell car in front of him. There's the checkered, and car number 7, Nick Childs, takes it with car number 1 in second place.
For me, I just work and do banger racing, that's it. My free time when I come home from work is spent on the cars, because it does take a lot of time, your own free time really. Because a car can last one meeting, it can go several meetings. It depends what action you get into and also how you have prepared the car. I have a retail shop, so all I've learned about mechanics is what I've learned through banger racing, really.
The first 10 are confirmed by the stewards, but confusions can arise. You need to be pretty alert to spot the leader amongst back markers. Colin was 8th, which puts him in the final. Johnny came 2nd. Clearly a skilled driver making use of his small car to squeeze a tight passage round the track. But he's also a skilled mechanic, preparing his car to last. The rules of banger racing demand that all cars conform to a general specification. Glass is removed, the frame reinforced, the petrol tank shifted. But drivers pick up other modifications from each other, such as cutting the handbrake cable or removing the floor around the gearbox. Johnny Rhino's ready to talk to us, so let's hear about his race.
That was a race.
Oh, that was a race enough. I'm glad his teammate got it though. I thought he was giving me first position actually, about 4 laps from home, and I just sort of kept out of trouble. I was following another teammate, and he was holding me up a little bit actually. But if I'd known I was in second, I'd have gone a bit harder.
But I mean, what happens? Do you look in front of you? Can you spot people?
You're always looking well ahead, you know, for any mishaps that other people's are making, you know, because you haven't got to make a mistake out there. You haven't got to make one.
What happens now? How do you get ready for the final?
Well, I'm lucky. I've had a scrape along the side there. I just managed, as I say, it was just squeezed through a gap there as one car was coming to close it up. I just managed to squeeze through, but he done that there. Just pulled the back wing off. I shall just bend that back round and back under, because if I get a hit up the back, this will come on, possibly give me a punch. Although I've got tube tyres, you know, if the place of the sharp metal goes in the tyre, I could possibly get a puncture. So I've got to put all that out the way so there's no damage. Well, I've always been a lover of motorsports, and this is the cheapest form that I could get into. It's a really cheap sport, although, you know, the biggest cost is running to and from the track. You know, that is the main cost. I used to do another promoter last year, but the tracks have got further and further away, so it's a cheap sport. Locally, I'm doing all right.
There are 2 main kinds of activity in the pits. One is concerned with the car's movement. It involves heavy work with axes, sledgehammers and chainsaws. The other needs more sophisticated engineering work. Another teammate of Johnny and Colin, Brian Bolton, had an unlucky race.
Well, actually, the steering box blind twisted, and I tried racing without a steering box.
Can you do that?
Well, in actual fact, you drive on your throttle, getting your wheels to spin you round. I got round a couple of bends, but unfortunately, I hit the fence and ripped me front track rod on.
So, what have you got to do to it now?
Put a new steering arm on and one of these pieces of kits to keep my track in.
So, do you carry all this sort of gear with you to?
We carry a few spares, but usually mates help us out. You know, they've got pieces we haven't, so one thing helps us each other.
Have you got a preferred car?
Oh yes, an Austin Cambridge.
Why?
They're so strong. This is done for 4 or 5 meetings now, and it's 1-2 races.
But it's a wreck.
Still going strong. Good for another few meetings yet.
The support of teammates and the group identity, symbolised by racing colours, is boosted by the interest of a wider community, for banger racing is not just for men and boys. Behind the scenes, groups of supporters promote dances and other gatherings. Whole families become involved in banger racing. Wives, children, girlfriends, all have shared in the preparations for the race, and all enjoy cheering the drivers on.
Well, the fence being stitched up. Once again, starter Richard into things, giving the drivers the last-minute instructions, because in the grand final of the afternoon on the oval, we start them in graded order and on the clutch. And that away, the greens go down the flag.